I'd like to call our March 2nd meeting
Recording in progress.
Of the Yolo, Sacramento-Yolo Port District Commission and West Sac Port District to order. And our chair was not able to attend this evening, so I'll be serving as your chair as best I can. And we just met in closed session. I apologize for the late start to this meeting. For those of you who are been waiting for us, the no reportable action was taken. And I just wanted to remind folks that we're meeting via teleconference pursuant to Government Code Section 549353E, and members of the public are asked to watch the meeting live stream or via wave cable. And there's information on our agenda and online posted about how to participate in this virtual meeting. So that brings us to our first item, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda, but within jurisdiction of the commission. And just to remind folks, we're prohibited by law from discussing issues that are not on the agenda that are brought to us tonight. But if there are any comments for us, let us know. I'm not seeing any hands raised. So that'll take us to our consent agenda. There are two items on our consent agenda this evening. Consideration of resolution 22-1, authorizing a budget appropriation of $200,000 for professional services related to projects eligible for infrastructure investment and job act funding opportunities, as well as consideration of approval of our minutes of February 2nd, 2022 at our regular meeting. Would any commissioner like to pull an item separately, or do we have any comments from the public on our consent agenda? All right.
I would move it approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Cabaldon moves, and
I'll second. McGowan.
Commissioner McGowan second. Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Cabaldon.
Aye.
Commissioner McGowan.
Aye.
Is Commissioner Ledesma?
He's not at this meeting, no.
Vice Chair Sandine.
Aye.
Absent
Correct.
Chair Villegas and Ledesma.
Thank you.
Motion passed.
Motion passes unanimously from those of us here tonight. That brings us to our regular agenda, and we have two items on our regular agenda. The first one is consideration of a 5-year lease extension with Lake Washington Sailing Club for a boat storage yard project at the North Terminal. And looks like, Megan, are you presenting this
I am
tonight?
presenting this one
Great.
tonight, yes. Item 4 and 5. And you'll see they're similar, but they're kind of broken up with intention. So I'm just going to go through them one by one.
Perfect, thank you.
So good evening. Tonight we have item number 4, which is consideration of a 5-year lease extension with the Lake Washington Sailing Club for a boat storage yard project at the North Terminal. Staff respectfully recommends that the commission authorize a 5-year lease extension of LWSC's current lease agreement, and then authorize the port CEO to reduce LWSC's rent to 40% of the contractual rent for 1 year, effective April 1st, 2022. So as you may remember, in February of 2020, the commission approved a 2-year lease agreement with LWSC through March of this year for a 1.85 acre site for a boat storage facility for LWSC members. And just as a note, it was agreed upon that 15% of that storage yard would be reserved for West Sacramento residents as they, if there was the intention to, the interest to. So the lease did provide for a 5-year extension option, subject to completion of site improvements and commission approval of a community service plan, which we did in exactly 1 year ago, March 2nd, 2021. We brought that to you. We presented the commission with a community service plan, which has since been agreed upon by the club. And this also includes a new trail maintenance program that staff is working with parks to develop. So as far as the site improvements go, LWSC has nearly completed their phase 1 project. And we have George Beery has joined us tonight, and he's going to do an update on the club. I'm going to share my screen.
Welcome, Mr. Beery.
Thank you, and good evening, commissioners.
I'll let you
Great
take
to
it
be
away.
back with you. Thank you. So it's hard to believe, but it's been 2 years since we met and started this project. We actually broke ground on the project, and I'm happy to be here and report back on our progress. We're really proud about our partnership with the port and also with the River City Rowing Club on this project. You know, and nowadays, even before the pandemic, there were very few expansion projects like this, none that I'm aware of on the West Coast for sailing clubs or yacht clubs or rowing clubs. They just weren't happening. So this is a big project for sailing and rowing. I have a series of slides which show the work we have accomplished on the yard and the sailing activities that happen. And so this second slide here, you may, well, actually the first one there, go back a couple, maybe I can do two. You go back to the, yeah, before we took over the yard, you might remember it was just a storage lot for dredge materials, tubes and machineries and rabbits. And since then, when we, after our meeting 2 years ago, we started by clearing the, actually, let me show you that. The next slide here is the plan that we proposed to the port, and it shows the boat storage area and the River City Rowing Club area with eventually a new boathouse. And then let's go to the next slide. As early as possible after the equipment was moved, the dredging equipment was moved, and after we got past a couple COVID stoppages, we had the area professionally cleared. And here in this photo, you can see a couple piles of some wood clippings that we used temporarily to keep down the weed growth. So on the next project, the next slide here, the project depended on really close cooperation between River City Rowing Club and the Sailing Club. And I especially appreciate the hard work of Bill Natty and Mark and his team at the Rowing Club. But I want to point out some specific things that we did in terms of the project. One of our Sailing Club members and a professional arborist planned, procured, and directed the planting of about 150 trees around the whole property. He's also West Sacramento resident. Another Sailing Club member spent several days and many hours with his personal tractor and equipment to move material, dig trenches, and dig holes for trees and grade the area. And he is also West Sacramento resident. We had volunteers, members of the club install fencing. We spread mulch. We dug trenches to install the utilities, the electrical and the water through the yard. And we installed those conduits and pipes. And we built the first, we're not quite there yet. There's a couple more things we did on the yard. We built the first series of small boat storage rack. And we built a work shed in the corner of the yard. That's actually sort of our corporate yard where we do repairs to boats and also keep equipment for the house and ground. So on the next slide, this is a current aerial photo showing the yard it's about 25% full, maybe a little bit less. On the right-hand side, you can see where the trenches were, where we ran the utilities. And on the left-hand side, you see the River City Rowing Club part of the project. Unfortunately, it's spring, so all of the trees aren't grown out yet, but they look great out there. So I'd like to talk to you about some of our activities the last couple of years. So on the next slide, 2020 was pretty rough for everybody. It was challenging and frustrating. The lockdowns went into effect right as we started the sailing season, so we had to almost cancel the whole thing. We canceled the opening day, our junior classes, and most of the events. But we took the opportunity to turn our attention to big projects. We revamped our websites. We have a new website where folks can join the club. They can register for events or for classes, and we can communicate better with members. And after some first, initial delays because of the pandemic, we started work on the yard. And then eventually, after things settled down, we were able to start events at the end of 2020. 2021 was sort of a rebound year. Everybody was excited to get outside, to get on the water, to learn to sail. We have a whole list of things we did. We resumed the Camp West for the Parks and Recs Department. We began taking tenants in the storage yard. We returned. We had the junior sailing camp start again. We work with Parks and Recs to promote the junior camp, and eventually we'll be including it as a part of their catalog. So residents in West Sacramento can sign up through Parks and Rec for sailing classes. We increased the number of adult classes for sailing and windsurfing. We expanded our evening sailing and windsurfing clinics, hired more sailing coaches and high school assistant coaches. We started the adaptive sailing program, which is a way to get disabled sailors on the water. And last year we did hold all of our regular regattas and races. So things are moving along well. The yard, I think the progress is good. I think Bill is going to talk about specific list of projects that are done and what's left to do. And that's it. That's my report. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Beery. Commissioners have any questions? Right. None. Thank you for the presentation and for all the work that you've been doing the last couple years. Any members of the public have comments on this item for us? Looking at the attendee list, I don't see any hands up. All right, that brings the action before us. I'm entertaining a motion for this item.
Well, Madam Chair, like you, I really appreciate the report and the significant progress that the club's been able to achieve in extraordinarily difficult circumstances, and also the community service plan that we saw last year and some of the augmentations to that have occurred, and that we've been heavily focused in the last several years on achieving equitable participation for West Sacramento residents in every aspect of the recreational opportunities at the port. Not for exclusive use of West Sacramentans. I think we all recognize the region and the federal government all contributed to the creation of the port. So we weren't trying to take it all for ourselves in this community, but to make sure that there was a place for West Sacramentans to be able to enjoy sailing and rowing as well. And so it's good to see the progress there. So with that, I would be happy to move approval of the item.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Cabaldon, seconded by Commissioner McGowan. I very supportive of all your comments, Commissioner Cabaldon as well. All right, Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Cabaldon,
Aye.
Commissioner McGowan.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sandine.
Aye. That passes unanimously, and look forward to the upcoming lease. Thanks. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. And that brings us to item number 5, which is consideration of a 5-year lease extension with River City Rowing Club for a rowing facility expansion project at the North Terminal. Ms. Stiles, back to you.
Hello again. So tonight, item number 5, is, like you said, a consideration of a 5-year lease extension for River City Rowing Club for a rowing facility expansion project at the North Terminal. Staff respectfully recommends that the Commission authorize a 5-year extension of RCRC's current lease agreement. So as part of RCRC's lease agreement, they took over a 1-acre site for expansion of their club's facilities, and this site is adjacent to existing facilities at the North Terminal. RCRC's lease also does provide for the 5-year extension option, subject to completion of site improvements and Commission approval of a community service plan, which we also brought last year to the Commission. RCRC has largely completed construction of their initial site improvements as required by the lease, and then Bill Natty has joined us this evening to give us an update on the club.
Hey, good evening, commissioners.
Welcome, Bill. Mr. Natty.
And much like George and the Lake Washington Sailing Club, we sort of moved quickly into the COVID situation with the goal of keeping all of our staff and keeping everybody safe. This has all gone very well. We've had very few people even get sick, and the club has stayed strong. Our junior team is almost double the size it was 2 years ago. So we're very happy with how we've managed COVID. So let's go on to the next slide, Megan. So these are some of the items in the scope of work that we have already completed, the grading, fencing, as George mentioned, and getting a building permit for our utilities. So go on to the next slide. As George said, the landscaping, 150 trees and drip irrigation. It's just been, it was the time when people really could get out and do something positive with each other. You'll notice everybody was masked. So we can go on from there. So right now, go back one, Megan, right there. So as George mentioned, most of our utilities are done. We are this week working, just put in the transformer yesterday, and we should be finished with having our electrical service complete here in another week or so. And sometime this summer, we'll be putting up the streetlight poles, and that'll be the last thing that we have from our 2-year scope of work. So now we can move on. We've done other projects as well. When we got the site, as George pointed out, there was a lot of material scattered around, and we took some old logs out of the wetland area. There was logs and creosoted logs and other junk in there. So we've tried to pull all that out, clean it, turned it into sort of a jungle gym for the middle school kids. And we can go on from there. We put in a fitness course that runs around the perimeter of the entire site. So Lake Washington Sailing Club was nice enough to let us use the perimeter of their site and make it part of this fitness course. We've got a half a dozen stations built already and 3 more to go as we finish the electrical trenching, cleaning up after all the trenching. And go on to the next one. We've put in a weights area, the container you see on the left, and a large area of rubber mat. So all of our weights activity has been moved onto the site and away from the road. Before this, we actually had like our juniors doing their exercise within feet of the trailers of the outboard club people coming in and out. So this is really nice. That was one of the biggest things that we wanted from this site. And we also built some boat racks. As we went into COVID, we were buying extra boats and leasing boats, and we needed space to put them. So this was another big help. And go on, Megan. The business side of RCRC, we've never really talked about this before. We are a 501c3. We have 10 staff. They're all employees. 2 are full-time and 8 are part-time. Our annual revenues have been around $455,000 for the last several years. And next year will be our 40th anniversary. Our first phase, we've spent about $50,000 so far, with another $10,000 to go. And as we move into our second phase, we have about a $300,000 budget for that over the next 3 years, starting with the environmental and building permitting, and then moving on to the actual construction of a shelter and the facilities to actually get out to the water and launch our boat. Okay, so we've managed the challenges over 40 years, including 3 floods and COVID, and this site has certainly been a challenge. This is not the sort of work we normally do as rowers, so it's been quite a challenge, and we're sure there's challenges to come, and we'll meet them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Natty. Questions and comments from the commissioner? Questions or comments and comments from the commissioners? Oh, and Mr. Natty, I see your hand up, but I know that's just for her. Maybe that's that's me. Commissioner Cabaldon or Commissioner McGowan?
No, I'm just, again, like with the other project, I'm just really happy to see this coming along and can hardly wait until we get the final completion of this project. I know they got a lot more to do, but I really like the direction you all are going over there. It's a great amenity for, as Mayor Cabaldon has said, it's not just for West Sac, although I think it benefits us tremendously, but it also demonstrates to the region what a great value we have here in West Sacramento.
Yeah, I
Commissioner
couldn't agree more, Madam Chair. That the progress is really impressive, and it's not. I guess it's not that surprising because of the 40-year history of the club and of Bill and people like Bill who put in so much effort and energy and sweat equity and in order to make all of it happen. A truly truly West Sacramento enterprise. So it's been great to see, but not surprising given the tenacious commitment that the club members have, and also that commitment to create a site that is in addition to welcoming more people into the club, also to the site and to the port itself, and to appreciate some of the passive ways to enjoy the waterway of the port as well. And so it's just been to watch the dedication and the work, but then starting to see it pay off is really tremendous. And congratulations to the club. And I'm certainly supportive of the item. And as soon as the chair is ready, I'd be happy to make the motion.
All right, and here those comments. I completely agree, and it is not without challenge, but as you alluded to, Mr. Natty, and I think past 2 years have tested all of us, and for so much good work that has happened the last couple of years, and I know that there's a lot of exciting things ahead. So with that, I will for a motion on this item.
All right, I'll move approval.
And
Moved by-
I'll be happy to second.
Great, thank you. Moved by Commissioner Cabaldon, seconded by Commissioner McGowan. And meeting clerk, would I ask please to once again?
Sure,
I'll
and I see no hands for public comment.
Oh yeah, thank you. I was going to ask. Thank you for that assistance too. I was looking over there and forgot to say that. Thank you.
Commissioner Cabaldon,
Aye.
Commissioner McGowan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sandine,
Aye, passes unanimously, and we'll look forward to the next 5 years as well for this lease extension. Thank you, and all the work ahead. That brings us to our general administrative functions, which are commission reports. Do any commissioners have reports for this evening?
No, not me.
All right, thank you. And Port CEO, I imagine, Mr. Koff, do you have any report on behalf of this?
No report tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of the meeting. Mr. Cabaldon, may I, or Mr. McGowan, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Second.
Motion.
I'm going to say Mr. McGowan moved and Mr. Cabaldon seconded. Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Cabaldon,
Aye.
Commissioner McGowan.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sandine.
Aye. We're in adjournment, and have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
You.